Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Ruth Morton. I am a Microsoft Infrastructure Optimization Specialist for Compugen, and I'm joined with my co-presenter, Erik Moll from Microsoft. Say hello, Erik.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. Looking forward to it. Greatly appreciate your time.
Great. Just a bit of background about us. I've been with Compugen since February. I work in kind of pre-sales, pre-technical sales, trying to connect with customers and connect them with the new technologies coming out and put together great solutions for what they're trying to do with their businesses. And before that, I worked at Microsoft for 6 years as an evangelist across the whole Microsoft stack. And then before that, I was a consultant myself, mostly with Exchange and AD, but I did that for about 6 years. And before that, I worked up the ranks in IT, so right in the trenches, so to speak, for a number of years. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I must say that talking about Office 365 is pretty exciting. It's come a long way since it first came out. It was BPOS, and it's always been great, but it's tremendous to see the strides that have happened, and it's really exciting to be working at a time when you have this great convergence of great technology meeting business needs, and so I'm pretty stoked to be able to talk to you about this today. Erik, do you want to say a few words about your background?
Sure, appreciate it. So I'm an Office 365 Business Development Manager. So in my current role, I work closely with our strategic partners like Compugen. And again, the goal here is to showcase the Office 365 solution to our customers and basically assist them in helping them improve their overall business productivity and help drive down their total cost of ownership. I've been here at Microsoft now for 15 years in different roles, but definitely really enjoying the current role. So looking forward to the webinar.
Great. Well, with that, why don't let me explain first how we're going to do this. Erik's going to kind of go into what Office 365 is and how what's kind of driving the changes that have happened with Office and how Office 365 is meeting the needs of businesses today. He's going to show you a bit of a demo of what Office 365 looks like and what it can do, and talk a bit about licensing. Then I'm going to follow up that with talking about Compugen's professional services. And so, if you're looking at Office 365 or you've decided that yes, the way you want to go, whatever stage you're in, Compugen can help you get to where you're going. So I'll talk a bit about some of our offerings and some of the things that we have that we can assist you with. And without further ado, Erik, why don't you take it away?
Excellent. Thanks, Ruth. Okay, so let's get started. And basically, Office 365 is a part of our new Office environment. But these are fundamentally exciting times. These are changing times. These are transformational times. So here are the key 4 transformational trends that we're seeing in the marketplace today. Cloud computing is very topical, and that's the main focus of today's presentation. But it needs to be kept in the context that we're seeing a lot of changes around consumerization of IT, bring your own devices to work, data explosion, which is big BI, and also the new social and apps environment. And they all tie in together. So cloud is not really siloed. It's really part and parcel of all of these other trends that are currently happening. So keeping this in context, Office 365 is one of our cloud solutions. It's a public cloud solution, meaning that it is actually hosted in our data centers as we speak. So Office 365 is an umbrella of 4 key offerings. And the 4 key offerings are as follows. So you basically have Exchange Online that you can utilize. You have Lync Online, and you have SharePoint Online. You can purchase any and all of these separately, or you can bundle them in together. One of the other key offerings is Office, which is actually a full copy of Office 2013, known here as Office ProPlus, that you actually download to your desktop. And I'll talk about this a bit later on. One of the key concepts around Office 365 is that this is really a versionless state, meaning that all of your platforms, the servers and Office, are always at the latest version. And what we've typically seen when I talk to customers is that they'll typically upgrade, let's say, Exchange, but not Office or Link, and they're typically always out of sync. And we find that from a business productivity perspective, that is a hindrance. That's a problem because you're not really taking full advantage of what the platform basically entails. With Office 365, that's never an issue. You're basically always having the latest solutions being offered. Now, the one thing that I'll point out is that you're going to start to see updates happening every 90 days. So, for example, one of the updates that we just saw recently happen was basically we just went from 25 gigabytes for Exchange Online to 50 gigabytes, and that just got updated recently. So these updates are ongoing consistently. SharePoint Online, 25 gigabytes on SkyDrive Pro was also another nice update. You're going to see a major update every 2 to 3 years, let's say, and from that perspective, you as a customer will have a 12-month window to allow you to update all your systems. We'll approach you to say, hey, this is your weekend. You'll be working closely with Compugen to make sure that you're ready. If you're not ready, then you can delay it. But usually from the time that we start to the time that we finish, which is 12 months out, all of our tenants are basically updated to the latest platform. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. Now, coming back to Office Pro Plus, as I mentioned, this is a fully downloadable copy of Office 2013 or Office Professional 2013. But there's a few key enhancements associated. First of all, we leverage a technology called Click to Run. And Click to Run is a streaming technology that basically allows you to download Office and start using it very, very quickly. Literally within minutes from the time that you start to download it, you're actually in production. You're starting to use it. Now, the reason why we're able to do this is that we actually take Office 2013 and we stream it down to you. We modularize it and we stream it down. We obviously stream down the Home tab first because those are the most common. 70% of the commands used are in the Home tab. So you're able to start creating, let's say, a spreadsheet and adding things. If you're a propeller head and you go to the far right, we'll actually stream down those bits so that you're not having to wait for it. So Click to Run gets you up and running very quickly. The second key thing is that we download it with application virtualization technology. And this basically allows you to go in and download Office, the current version of Office, and keep the old versions on your PC at the same time. So if you have compatibility potential issues, or you might have an old macro that's looking for an old version of Office, like Excel 2007, then when you open up the spreadsheet, it doesn't open up in Excel 2013, then you can just right mouse click on it, say, hey, I need to open up in Excel 2007, and then you're good to go. So that's the third key benefit. The next key benefit is that you can actually go ahead and you can download it on up to 5 different PCs or Macs. So I can download it on my tablet, on my Office PC, on my home computer. It doesn't matter. And all of those are being monitored and managed by the backend system. If an individual leaves the organization, not a problem. We will detect it. We will alert the user that they need a valid copy of or a valid license of Office. But to the organization, they just reassigned a new username to the licenses, and they are now entitled to 5 new licenses to go on any 5 PCs or Macs. So again, Office Pro Plus, we've seen a lot of customers very, very excited about it and taking full advantage of it. So when we talk about Office 365, it is in the context that historically all of our solutions have been able to be deployed on-premise. And you could do this in a private cloud environment, either hosted at your facility or through a local hoster. And we had Active Directory managing this for you. We have since gone in and we've basically enabled all of our solutions through multi-tenant to be hosted in our data centers, which is basically our public cloud offering. and we have Office 365, as I mentioned, for Exchange, Link, and SharePoint. But we also have Azure, Windows Azure, and Windows Intune and SQL Azure that allow you to run it both as a platform and infrastructure as a service. So again, we've got some great solutions there, Store Simple, and again, Ruth and Compugen would be happy to share them with you. So this would be public cloud over here, and again, this is predicated and managed through Active Directory. The reality of it is that for most of organizations that are over 100 seats, we often see what's called the hybrid cloud, and we're one of the only ones that can offer hybrid cloud. And hybrid cloud basically says, hey, I'm going to take my AD on-premise and make it master, and AD in the cloud and make it slave. And now I, as an administrator, only have to manage one Active Directory. But the key thing here is that I can actually decide which workload goes where. I can choose to have Exchange sitting in Office 365 and keep SharePoint on-premise. I can actually split SharePoint. I can have SharePoint on-premise working in conjunction with SharePoint in Office 365. Why would I want to do this? Well, I might decide that SkyDrive Pro with the 25 gigabytes per user is a huge asset and advantage. Much easier to manage than Dropbox or Box.com, for example. And it gives me all the capabilities of SharePoint around document management. But at the same time, I might still have a few documents or financial systems that I want to keep on premise, or I might have customized code sitting in SharePoint that I want to keep that on premise. So total flexibility. The key thing though is that with Compugen, licensing and technology-wise, you can move at any time from on-premise to public cloud, and at any time from public cloud back to on-premise. So the licensing and the technology actually support this. Now, one of the key benefits from an end user's perspective with hybrid cloud is something called single sign-on. So I just need one set of credentials, one email address, one password, and the moment that I authenticate, I basically authenticate to all my workloads, irrespective if they're on-premise or in public cloud. So the flexibility is there. So at no time are you forced to do all public cloud or all on-premise. With hybrid cloud, you truly have the best of both worlds. So it's basically cloud on your terms. So let's talk more about the Office 365, and what I'd like to do is put it in context of the new Office. And the new Office has 4 key components. Devices are king, social and apps are king, cloud is king, and obviously control is paramount. So let me walk you through and show you how we think of this. So the first one is around devices. And in this new era, we have to appreciate the fact that from a user's perspective, we're changing the environment that we're working in. So when I started, just like you, Ruth, just a few years ago, we typically had one computer. It was our desktop computer. Now we might have a multitude of computers. I might have my 2-in-1 PC, or I might have my tablet. I might go home and work off my Surface RT. I might have my smartphone with me. So the devices environment is important. And as you know, with the new Surface Pro, it's actually a full-fledged PC with USB, with the kickstand like at the back, and the capability to basically connect very, very easily to any external devices using my USB connector. So I got the best of both worlds. Now, the key thing around the new devices is obviously the new paradigm shift around touch. And I would argue that touch and the mobile devices go hand in hand. But the key enabler that I want to point out is this whole concept of mobile apps. So let me just go ahead and I'm just going to go and change my environment. And I'm just going to go to my desktop. And Ruth, I'm just going to ask you to confirm when you see my desktop.
Sure thing. It's just loading up right now.
Okay.
And there we have it.
You have it? Okay, perfect. So the key concept around touch and tablets is this whole concept that I want to be able to run my regular desktop applications, which I can easily go ahead and do. No change there. But at the same time, I want to be able to take advantage of all of my smartphone or my mobile apps, and I want to be able to use it on any device. And I think that's a key message. So from our perspective, if I have INREX, which is one of my favorite and most important apps, I can quickly go in and see what the traffic is like at this time of day. With a little swipe from the top, you'll notice that I have the flexibility. This is big data to go in and say, you know what, I'm going to be actually be going downtown later today, and there's the traffic. And the reason why I'm going downtown today is that I'm actually going to go see the Raptor game. So the Washington Blizzards are playing. So with this app, I'm in full control in terms of deciding what's the best road to take and how to avoid the traffic. Now, the important thing about the apps is that the apps allow me to run on any device, and you'll notice here that I also have the capability of running my traditional Link app on my rich client, or OneNote on my rich client, but you'll note right beside it that now I can actually run my app in a mobile app environment. So Office ProPlus gives you the right to run Link or OneNote, and we'll talk about Link a bit later on, but this is basically corporate Skype, on any device. It could be a Windows 8.1 environment, but more importantly, I can also decide to run it on my iOS or my Android device. It doesn't matter. And that's where the technology is going. So the one recommendation that, and Ruth and I often have discussions around this, if you're sitting on an older version of Windows like Windows XP, you can go to Windows 7. Windows 7 is a very good OS, but it will not give you the capability of running these apps. And the key thing that I'll point out is that as we start to move forward, you're not just going to see consumer apps and business productivity apps, but you're going to start to see corporate apps. And I think that's the most critical piece. You want to be able to go in and with one click of the mouse, be able to get access to all of my corporate data through these mobile apps. And the user interface is paramount. So again, as we move forward, Office 365 gives me this flexibility, again, of running these Office ProPlus in a mobile app environment, in an Office web app environment. So that's one key element that I want to highlight around devices. So if we understand the app environment that's important, then the next platform that I want to highlight is that with Office 365, you obviously get the flexibility of running Exchange Online. And Exchange Online is, if you wish, corporate email. It's probably one of the most established and very, very powerful email system. So if you're sitting on older versions of Exchange, or if you're not sitting on Exchange, but you're sitting on PopMail or whatever, you'd be very, very impressed with Exchange Online, which is basically Exchange 2013. So a few key concepts here. First of all, from a usability perspective, I talked about apps are king. If you'll notice here, I have an email sitting in my inbox. The email comes in, and it also highlights the fact that I've got, this address to go to. And with one mouse click, it understands, oh, I think you want to be running an app within an app, and it opens up the app, and very quickly it brings up big maps within the app, and I can actually zoom in and see, where the mapping is at. All of these apps that are sitting over here, by the way, are actually being either provisioned through your own store or through your own SQL Server, or if you wanted to, you can actually go to Get More Apps, and the apps have proliferated. We went from 10,000 apps just a year ago to over 100,000 apps, and it's growing exponentially. So the point that I'm trying to make is that as you move to the new platform with Office 365, with Exchange Online, which is on Exchange 2013, and Office ProPlus, you can start to take advantage of these apps from a business productivity perspective. So very, very powerful that way. Now, the next thing that I also want to point out is that if you do go to Office 365 and Exchange Online, one of the key elements that we try and provide to our users is basically high availability and disaster recovery. So in our environment, we actually are working towards 99.9% of guaranteed uptime with full disaster recovery. So most customers that I talk to will say, hey, I got high availability, but should I have a Calgary flood or a Toronto flood or an ice storm and my building goes down or there's a catastrophic failure of some form, I'm not guaranteed disaster recovery. In this scenario, you are fully guaranteed disaster recovery, and we provide 99.9, and we're currently, for the last quarter, sitting at 99.96. and this is publicly available information. And by the way, this is financially backed. Now, of course, we also provide some other key capabilities associated with this. So one of them is known as data loss prevention. So within our current platform, if you actually go in, you can put in place policies that actually protect you from accidentally having users send and share sensitive information, like credit card information should never be sent through an email. Or we can also upload like PIPEDA, whereby social insurance, passport information, all that information is actually tracked, monitored, and blocked, if you wish, by your Exchange server if you want to set that up. And if the policy is not there, it's not hard to create. So that's one of the key advantages. One of the other benefits is, so we talked about high availability disaster recovery, but we can also put in place with the E3 SKU the capability of going in and through retention policies, we can actually give you infinite storage over infinite time. So this is actually our advanced archiving capability. So again, when you start off with Office 365 out of the gate, we give you an unprecedented 50 gigabytes of storage that you can take offline. But if you want to back it up, you can either back it up locally, or with the advanced archiving, that becomes your backup on steroids, whereby we now provide unlimited storage over unlimited time, incorporating, by the way, full antivirus, anti-spam at no additional cost. And this is something, again, that Compugen can assist you with. I should also point out that you also get in-place e-discovery, hold, auditing, all of that is part of the solution that we bring to the table. Okay, so again, the Outlook piece is unprecedented, very, very powerful. Associated with the email piece is obviously Link. And Link is how we're actually doing this presentation today. So through the web conference that we're presenting to all of you folks. But Link is also a very powerful tool whereby I can actually go in, and you'll notice that I'm currently presenting, but I get this presence indicator. And through single modality, if I were to go back in here very quickly and I create a new mail message very quickly, I would be able to go in, and in this mail package itself, let me just show it to you here. If I type in email@microsoft.com, I would get the pawn associated with it, and it would actually show me in the presentation mode. So again, let me just do this so you can see it. Email@microsoft.com is right over here, and that should actually be showing up green. I'm actually signed up as KD Jordan, so that's why you're not seeing it. But with the Link capability, I can communicate with anyone. I can do audio, video, web conferencing. All of that is fully supported, just like what we're doing today. So very, very powerful. And if I wanted to, I can also connect it to a PBX and do telephony. And Compugen is one of our top authorized Link partners. They would be happy to facilitate that for you. So the Link component and the Exchange mail actually go hand in hand from a business productivity. Keep in mind that you get a full copy of Office Professional, so you get the benefit of running Excel, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote. All of these are connected directly into your Office 365 environment if you want to share the information directly and save it into your site. So let me show you a little bit of the SharePoint environment, and let me show you what it basically entails. So just like previously, when I actually start off, I can actually log on to my site. I log in, and I actually default, if you wish, to my Outlook environment, or OA. So this is simple. This is similar to my Rich client, but this is actually the browser view. And I should point out that in this browser view, I also have, first of all, support for all the different browsers, Firefox, Safari for Mac, and obviously IE. I also have support for all of the capabilities that I was showcasing, so apps within apps, so the capability of running a Bing Map app within an email, just like I did in the Rich client, and I can do the full searching and the full searching capability across all my folders and file. Now, one of the nice things that you get also is SkyDrive Pro. And SkyDrive Pro, if you wish, is our site that allows users to manage their documents. It becomes their file share on steroids, number one. We provide out of the box 25 gigabytes per user automatically. And you can increase this, by the way, if you need to. So in this environment here, I can actually come in, look at my document. If I click on the epsilon, it will actually launch Office Web Apps, or in this case, Word Web App. I can view the document to see, yep, this is the exact document that I want to do. And from here, I have a few choices. I can actually go in, and with one mouse click, I can share this document. I can go in and share it internally, but more importantly, I can share it with anyone that I want. So if I were to send this to ericmoll@microsoft.com, and again, I'm signed in here as Katie Jordan, there's ericmoll.com, I can actually say, hey, you don't require a live ID to sign in. You can go ahead and sign in, and as you can see, there's my pawn coming through with my presence indicator. But here I can specify view or edit. And if I just say view, then Erik, when he receives the link to go view the document, can only open it up electronically, can't download it, can't edit it, can't do any of this. If I do say edit, then yes, if it's a Word document, I can actually download the Word document and share it. So this is how Ruth and I, by the way, have been working on this presentation today. We actually opened up the consumer version of SCDRAV Pro, which is SCDRAV, but we could have done this in SCDRAV Pro. And in this scenario here, we posted our document, we edited our document from one single site. Very, very user-friendly, very, very powerful. And this fundamentally addresses a few key issues. First of all, it replaces your file shares, which are difficult to manage, difficult to secure. But more importantly, if IT opens it up as a port, I can now share externally with all of my users. So this becomes, if you wish, the Dropbox or Box.com replacement. The reason why I say it's on steroids is that it's a full document management system. So if I want to go in and I want to facilitate versioning, if I want to do the checkout, the check-in, if I want to do workflows, all of that is supported in the site. But again, very simply put, it just acts as an electronic file share like on steroids. Very, very flexible that way. So that's Dropbox. This is the Dropbox equivalent, which is SCDRAV Pro. So having said this, SCDRAV Pro actually leverages SharePoint. And again, in working with Compugen, you can now go in, and if you wanted to, you can actually create yourself a full-fledged site that would allow you to go in and manage it as your intranet site. This, by the way, comes with also security trimming. So if Erik, or in this case Katie, does not have the right to go in and let's say see finance, the finance site just doesn't appear, and all the content associated with finance is totally hidden from view. So if I do a search for it, none of it would actually appear. So I can actually use Office 365 or SharePoint Online to create my intranet. Very, very end-user friendly in terms of being able to edit and change and add content. The other key element I'll point out is that I can also use it for external users. I have the right to have up to 10,000 external users authenticate to my site at no additional cost. So in this scenario here, I would grant them permission, give them a username, they would authenticate to the site. I would obviously sandbox them to the site that I want them to go to so they can't see anything else, but I can also do that. Can I use Office 365 or SharePoint Online as my internet-facing site? Absolutely. So if I want to use it for my internet-facing site, I can do that. There's a few little limitations you need to be aware of. So if I want to do e-commerce, I can't do that with Office 365, but I could spin up SharePoint in Azure as an infrastructure as a service and use it there. So I have total flexibility in terms of how and where I want to go and do it. Associated with my intranet site, obviously, is our new technology called FAST. And again, from a FAST perspective, this is our high-end search engine. They'll actually go in and really do some very nice searching whereby I can actually go in and modify data. I can narrow it in. If I want to look at a particular document, I can just show it. I can actually see the document very quickly. You'll notice the take a look inside. It's actually gone into the document and it says, I believe you might want to go in and specifically look at current trends. and FAST will give you this. And by the way, when you click on the current trends, it not only opens up the document, but it actually takes you right to the slide in question. So incredibly powerful that way. So again, the FAST technology, so anything that sits in SharePoint Online is fully indexed, fully searchable through this FAST technology. So the next thing that I can also do is I can also use my sites for team collaboration sites. And as you'll notice here, I've got a Gantt chart, I've got a document library, and you'll notice that if I do go to the document library, it is very, very similar to my SCDRAV Pro, and it should be because it is fundamentally a document library. I can go in, and if I want to open this document up as a browser view, here's the Excel web app, I can also do that. And if I want to go in and do the editing in the Excel web app view, I can also do this. Now, what's interesting is that not only can I go in and change my values real time, so if I need to change this to 500, I can do that, and you'll see the chart change real time. But I can also go in and allow multiple users to access the same document as myself and do what's called co-authoring. So I can edit in the browser view, and it's light to medium editing because you'll notice at the top I don't have all of the tabs associated with open in Excel, but for the most part this will do the majority of the work for me. But I can also have multiple people, Alex and Garth, Pavel, all come in and edit the document at the same time, and on the back end we kind of manage that real time. We can do this, by the way, the co-authoring with Word, with PowerPoint, with OneNote, and obviously with Excel. And again, if you've got the mobile apps, this is where it gets interesting. I can actually do this editing in SharePoint Online. And with Office ProPlus, I now have the right to download mobile apps, if you wish, or mobile Office to my iPhone, to my Android, and obviously to my Windows Phone 8. And from there, I could access the exact same spreadsheet and do the light editing and doing the updates. And we've got hundreds of companies doing this today. So the flexibility of tying into mobility into the cloud, be it Windows 8.1 or a smartphone, fully supported. So the next piece I wanted to highlight is this concept that if I have these documents with me, I have a couple of choices that I can make. I can take this document library and I can export this library, if I wanted to Outlook. And if I export this to Outlook, if I go into my mail, you'll notice if I go a bit further down and I open up Northwind Traders, lo and behold, there is my document library. And this document library is the same library as I would have had sitting over here in this environment over here. So again, all the documents are basically synchronized from my SharePoint environment into Outlook, and I can actually take this offline. I can actually edit it in Outlook and synchronize it back in. My other option, though, is if I wanted to, I can actually go in, and you'll notice at the very top over here, there's something called Sync. And this actually will sync this into File Explorer. Windows File Explorer. So in this scenario here, if I wanted to, and I've got it, this is an example of my own personal site, I can actually take a SCDRAV Pro, and this is where I keep all my business documents, and I basically synchronize it. And I can actually keep on working in File Explorer without ever having to go to SharePoint, but behind the scenes, the two of them are basically being synced. So I have the flexibility of taking it offline, updating it, and the moment I sync back in, it syncs it right back up. And this is a key asset of being able to take information offline and work with the information offline. And again, that's what Office 365 does provide for me. Now, the one thing I also want to point out is, as much as I can also take the documents offline with me, I also provide something known as Office on Demand. So imagine a scenario that Ruth is working in the office in Toronto. Ruth has to go on a trip to the Edmonton or Calgary office, and so she takes her Surface RT with her. Loves it. She can do the work. And then when she actually gets to Edmonton, she needs to go in and log in and open up a document. Now, as she opens up the document, she's not working on her own machine. She's working on Surface RT. But let's say the document that she's trying to open up requires the rich client because it requires pivot tables, which is not supported in Office web apps. So the only thing that she needs to do is find a PC. She logs on to the PC, and using the Office on Demand, what she would do is just click on it. And once she clicks on it, she basically now gets the right to download a copy of Excel to that machine, download the file, edit it, save it back up to SharePoint, and then exit Excel. This I can do on as often as I want and on as many machines as I want. And Office on Demand is part of, obviously, Office ProPlus with SharePoint Online. So that's how those two work hand in hand. So we've talked about SkyDrive Pro sites. We've talked about the capability of doing document management, intranets, but we also have a very, very compelling story around social networking. So with social networking, I have the capability out of the box to basically follow people, follow subjects, so hashtag at Katie Jordan or Pavel or something like that, fully supported. And obviously within the site, I'm not only following mentions and trends, but I can also follow documents and sites. If there are changes or edits, it would basically alert me. So the social networking has been greatly improved, and this is purely within SharePoint Online, but we take it to the next level with basically Yammer. So if you purchase Office 365 with the E1 SKU or with the E3 SKU, we actually give you Office 365 at Yammer at no additional cost. Usually if you want to put Yammer and you want to manage it on premise, I think it's $7 a user a month. Here it's fully inclusive. Internal to Microsoft, we used to have a lot of collaboration sites. We still do, but I would argue most of them have migrated over to a Yammer community. And basically Yammer is, if you wish, your corporate version of LinkedIn or your corporate version of Facebook. We kind of predefine the look and feel for you. So you've got your common threads. I can add documents. I can add notes. I can monitor all of my different user groups. I can have it sent to me in an email format. And I also have the capability of tracking or talking with people real time that are within the environment. So this is, in my opinion, indisputable in terms of the value it brings to organizations. I would argue that face-to-face and phoning is one-dimensional communication collaboration. I would argue that Link, or corporate Skype if you wish, is two-dimensional, instant messaging, audio, video, web conferencing. But I would then argue that social networking and implementing a proper strategy around this is n-dimensional. It changes the value proposition. It changes how people communicate, collaborate, and network together. And if you've not looked at it, it is an investment you should definitely look at. As I mentioned, we make it very easy with you for you through Yammer, and this is the enabling piece that allows you to take full advantage of it. So that was a very high-level overview of the different components and capabilities around Office 365 with Exchange Online, unlimited storage over unlimited time with advanced archiving, with Link in terms of the web conferencing. I can even do telephony with a Link server on premise connected to my PSTN, and obviously with the power of SharePoint, SkyDrive Pro, 25 gigabytes per user, and obviously document management, intranets, and social networking through Yammer. So let me just go back to the presentation, and I just want to go back and let's go back to the slide deck. And let's just talk very quickly as to how we package this and how we bring it to market. And then I'll pass the floor back to Ruth to basically conclude the webinar. So we've talked about the new Office, and the one thing I want to reemphasize is that control is still paramount. So we actually go in and we invest a lot of time to make sure that from a control perspective, you manage your peeper, you've got the group policies out to devices and out to the users. So this is still absolutely the critical piece. So from a packaging perspective, this is how we do it. You can buy any one of those services individually, or you can buy them in bundles. So the basic E1 plan, which is $820 user a month, and this is kind of the high watermark, right? So this is if you go direct to web. Obviously, if you buy it through an enterprise agreement through Compugen, one of our top licensing partners, you definitely get a better price. But the E1 will give you email and the basic package of 50 gigabytes a user. But if you want to do the advanced archiving, and we also include voicemail in this, then at that point you would go over to the E3 plan. Secondly, we give
Erik,
you, yes.
I'm just going to help you out there with the slide deck again.
Okay.
It's just not advancing, so give me
there
a
we go.
second.
Okay.
All right, and I'll get you back on the licensing page.
Okay. Good catch. There we go.
All right, hang on a sec. There we go. All right, continue on.
And I'll take over. Oh yeah, and I can just okay.
Just let me know when you want it forwarded.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the plan E1 is 50 gigabytes for mail. And again, in this environment here, what happens is that I get the basic functionality of the mail to 50. The SharePoint, I get the intranet, I get the SkyDrive Pro, the 25 gigabytes per user, all of that is included. I also get Link, which is basically the full link, instant messaging, audio, video, web conferencing, and presence are fully supported. And I also get, by the way, Office web apps. So this basically means that, by the way, if I've got some users that are light to medium editors would never really require the full rich client, then hey, I can just do it with Office web apps, and the E1 actually allows me to license it that way. Now, of course, if you want to give them the full Office ProPlus, that's where the E3 plan comes in, and if I want to give them electronic forms and SharePoint or BI capabilities, then I need the E3 at $23.20 user a month. The E4 plan, the only thing we've added there is everything that's in the E3, but we've also given them the Voice Plus Cal, which is telephony. And again, as I mentioned, Compugen is one of our Link authorized partners. They'd be happy to come in and do it on site at your facility, or they can find a local hoster that would be hosting the Link server for you to provide the telephony piece. We also have the KSQs or the kiosk plans. These are for users like plant workers that want to participate in the corporate email, want to be able to read corporate policies through SharePoint online, but don't have don't have their own PC. The K plan allows them to basically subscribe to it and to take advantage of it. So we've got two different plans, and now the K1 actually also includes the Office web apps, by the way. So one single plan for both of those. So if we go to the next slide, Ruth. Perfect. As I mentioned, you can absolutely go individually. If you come back to me and says, Erik, I just want to do mail, I just want to do it through the browser view, then Exchange Online Kiosk at $210 a user month is for you. This gives you 2 gigabytes a user. If I want to do the Exchange, if I want the full advanced archiving, voicemail, and all that, and I just want mail, I go with Exchange Online Plan 2. So again, Compugen and Ruth would be more than happy to walk you through the different plans. The bottom line is that you have total flexibility in terms of what you want to do. Now, as a rule of thumb, just from Microsoft's perspective, you should also be aware of the fact that if I buy 2 of something, it's usually cheaper to go and buy the package or the bundle than to buy them individually. So just be aware of that. And again, Compugen can easily facilitate that discussion for you. I should also point out that I've seen many customers tell me, Erik, I love the bundle. I'm not quite ready to use my services in Office 365. What can I do? Well, they get the bundle. They get Office Pro Plus. But because all the client access licenses are transferable to on-premise, you can still deploy an Exchange server on-premise, Link on-premise, SharePoint on-premise, and leverage all the licensing and ProPlus at the same time. So that's another flexibility that you have. And again, Compugen can easily walk you through that scenario. So just on a closing note, before I pass it back to Ruth, first of all, I want to thank you for your time. Secondly, I want to thank Compugen for hosting this webinar. They're one of our top go-to partners in Office 365. They've been doing it for many years. They have excellent expertise, and they can easily come in and do a cloud assessment for you and understand what the best scenarios are. And obviously, from a licensing perspective, they're one of our top licensing partners. And lastly, but not least, I want to thank you for your business. Greatly appreciate the support you've given Microsoft in the past, and hopefully you see value in considering the Office 365 and our whole hybrid cloud or public cloud offerings going forward. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Ruth to finish off on a few last slides. Ruth?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Erik. That was great. That was a great overview of Office 365, and Erik went through a ton of stuff, and I know that some of you that are listening to this may be a little bit overwhelmed. Depends on how you're coming into this conversation, whether you're right at the beginning of your journey, trying to figure out what Office 365 is and if it can meet some of the needs and address some of the pain points that you're feeling right now. And some of you are further along than that, and this won't be as much new information. So one of the things that Compugen can also do is help you get to where you're going to. And let me explain some of the different offerings that we have to do that. One of them is the Customer Immersion Experience, the CIE. And this is a session. It's about 3 hours, and we can do a bit of customization to it for your needs. But basically, we take you through different business scenarios. And you get to sit in a room, you get to touch and play with different devices, laptops, tablets, phones, and work through the scenarios. And there'll be a facilitator there kind of leading you through everything. And you get to have some hands-on experience with Windows 8 and with Office 365. And it's pretty cool doing these sessions. I know I've done a couple now, and it's really neat to see what happens when you get a group of people from the same company in a room, and we start going through it's kind of a day in the life of. We go through some different real life business scenarios that you would encounter every day, and how the technology can facilitate getting the job done. And it's interesting to see the ideas that start popping up and the aha moments. You know, we'll be working through some stuff. We'll be looking at, we'll do some video conferencing with Link, or we'll be doing some looking at SharePoint, or we'll be taking a look at, well, how do you find the person in your company that has the information or the knowledge that you need? And all of a sudden, the light bulbs will go on, and the folks in the room will start applying the technology and those ideas to their specific business and scenarios they see day to day, and the ideas start flowing, and they start being able to envision what could be, and that's part of this process. It's hard to envision what could be if you don't have a sense of how it all comes together. So that's one offering that we have, and it's a very interactive session. It's not a technical deep dive. It's kind of a walkthrough of true to life business scenarios. And so you would want in the room probably a cross section of people. It works best if you have maybe somebody from facilities, especially if you're looking at using Link Online. You might want to have someone from HR, particularly around understanding how these tools will attract new employees, and how they will also facilitate being able to find and understand what people do within the company between each of. So if I'm coming into a company new, or if I'm taking over a new role, being able to find the people that can support me, or that I need to be able to work with. Sometimes that is very, very difficult in a large company. You'll want to have your CXOs, so your chief financial officer, maybe your chief information officer in the room. And as well as, a spattering of other people across the groups. And this is where the ideas start coming. Anyways, they're fun sessions to do. I can't say enough about them. There's also, if you're a little farther along in your journey, or if you have a good sense of what Office can do for you, but perhaps you're looking to help build your business case. You're looking to make sure that the features and functionality that Office 365 delivers will match what your business needs are. We can do a solution alignment and architecture workshop. And basically, this helps put together the business case for you. We take a look at how viable Office 365 is for what you're looking to do. We try to identify, are there any blockers that would prevent you from going down this path before you get down the path too far. And then we do a gap and risk assessment, and then we end up with a high-level concept architecture and a high-level migration and coexistence strategy so that you have something going forward. And usually, again, I'll kind of ballpark this so you have an idea. The CIE is actually a no-cost session that we can do with you. The alignment and architecture workshop, it can be about 10K. It depends on how complex your environment is, but that kind of gives you a rough ballpark, anywhere from 10 to 15K in that neighborhood. And there are some things we can do to offset the cost, especially when you're doing some planning options. I'll get into that in just 1 second. Before I talk about that, though, I want to talk about our all-up migration methodology for Office 365. Now, there are a lot of boxes on the screen right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is an overly complex process. It can actually be quite simple, but these are some of the things that we go through and look at to be able to do the due diligence to make sure that the project is a success. So one of the most important phases is the assessment and design and planning part of the project. And if you haven't done an assessment of Office 365 and how compatible it is with what you're trying to drive in your business, then we will add that into the project. And we can customize this project according to what your needs are. We can do it as we can project manage the whole thing and put our people in and have our people working with your own IT staff to make sure that they are brought along the process so that when the project is done, they're able to manage and expand your needs as your business grows. We can do it as a supplement to your own project team. It depends on how your needs are. But we go through a whole design process, and basically, the end of this, you have a detailed design of your target state that you're trying to get to. We have a deployment and migration plan. We go through, we have a plan for the compatibility and implementation testing and what remediation steps there might be needed. We detail out some of the modifications of the current environment that need to happen before going forward, and we review the policies that are in place for operations, and we look at how those might change after this project or during this project. Then, of course, we go and we go in and prepare the environment. So whether, depending on what pieces of Office 365 you're going to be implementing, and depending on what your current environment looks like, there will be different activities that need to happen during this to kind of prepare the back end before the clients get rolled out. And then we go into a pilot, and the pilot is a subset of your users. So, if you're going to be doing 1,000 users, then you might want to do a pilot of 25 people or so, and maybe more, maybe less, depending on your environment. We always recommend that we get a good cross section. So you get some power users, you get some novice users, you get a couple of people from the different departments and from the different businesses within your organization. So you have a good cross section and a good understanding of the impacts across your business before you roll it out full-fledged. And then, of course, we go into the full-fledged migration once we've completed a successful pilot and made any changes that need to happen. So I mentioned that there are some programs that we might be able to make use of that can offset some of the costs of moving to Office 365. And you'll find as with any technology that Microsoft comes out with, it's best to take advantage of the offerings like this, especially when there's when they're there, that it's not going to be around forever. This offering goes till March 31st of next year. This is for customers that buy 150 seats or more of Office 365. You may be eligible for this, and we'll assess your eligibility with Microsoft, and then we can apply the funds that are available to your project. And then there are some different parameters of things that we will provide back to Microsoft to show what the work we've done. In addition to this, if you have software assurance benefits, then you might be able to take advantage of any unused planning vouchers that you have as part of those benefits. And again, we can kind of assess what you've got and what your budget is and try and work with you to make sure that we keep everything in budget, but that we have a successful and a solid rollout and a good experience up to Office 365. So there's a lot of flexibility in how we do that and what we can do to get you there. And I think that is it. We've kind of gone through. Erik took you through what Office 365 was all about and what was driving it, all the different pieces of it. I know that there's sometimes some confusion and misinformation out there about what Office 365 is. So I hope we were able to clarify a lot of that for you. He did a great demo of what Office 365 looks like and how the pieces interact with each other. We went through the licensing options and the professional services options that are available to you. And I think that we've come to the conclusion of our webinar. And before Erik says anything, I'm going to go in. I'm going to change his let's see, Microsoft.
Well, I always work for Compugen, absolutely.
I know. You know what? I did these slides, and yeah, that should be Erik.Moll at Microsoft.com, although we think of him as part of our extended Compugen family.
Absolutely.
If you need to reach either of us, our information is up on the screen. And Erik, do you have any last thoughts or comments to leave with our listeners and our viewers?
Yeah, the last comment is, these are exciting times. I think the opportunity is yours. There's tremendous opportunity for you to make an impact to your organization, either be it driving down cost and also improving overall business productivity. I think working with Compugen, they're one of our top go-to partners. Definitely work with them. They'll figure out the best way to what solutions to leverage, implement, and in what time frame. And actually make it very effective. And I should also point out that the funds that Ruth was talking about, the cloud deployment funds, are only available to specific partners that have reached a specific level of competency. And obviously Compugen is one of them. And the other component too, as Ruth mentioned, is that those dollars aren't there forever. Take advantage of them. These are kind of still the exciting early days of Office 365. Microsoft is making a heavy investment to facilitate migration and leveraging Office 365. So take advantage of those dollars. So on that note, thanks again for your time, but more importantly, thanks again for your business. Greatly appreciate it.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.